It's Elef, or tribes. They translate it to a number. It's
There you
1,000.
go.
So Satan was locked up for the reign of the tribes. And this is exactly what happened in history. This is the reign of Christ.
Just missed out on that one. Now I got it on.
and left my wallet at home. Would you lend
Who actually rules the world? What do you think, Bob? The politicians, right? Ha 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 ha. No, that's just what they want you to think. The pyramid of power really just starts there. What do you mean? I thought the politicians that we elect make all the decisions. No, Bob. You just need to follow the money to know who holds the power. Above us, citizens is politics, that's true. But I think they are just puppets for us to justify decisions that are coming from higher up. And they get swapped out every 4 years to give us the illusion that our vote matters. Who is above the politicians then? Large corporations that influence politics through their lobbyists and money. I see. And then? What do corporations need to grow? Good products? Money. And they get it from the banks, which then influence the corporations through their money and loans. So, the banks rule the world? No. The banks also get their money as loans from the central banks, which can create it out of thin air. And who owns them? Apparently, nobody. But the whole world is indebted to this nobody, whether individuals, companies, or banks, and this nobody creates money out of nothing. What? How? Are we being scammed? Where am I? Help! Bob, calm down. I'll show you soon how you can make money to break out of this system. When? As soon as you understand the world. Be patient. Don't forget to follow. Who actually rules the world?
According to the CIA, we have superhuman abilities. Watch this.
So the CIA released a document saying the universe is a hologram. And basically the document teaches you how to access superhuman abilities as well as use your consciousness to shift your reality. I'm breaking down this document section by section, and this is part 4. This section is pretty short but very interesting because it talks about the use of the hemisync. What they notice is by putting people through the hemisync system, they could have people access advanced states of meditation, maybe some states that would take the average meditator 20 years to reach, and they could have them reach it pretty much in 10 to 15 minutes. And these states would be where the left and right brain come into complete coherence, so much so that it seems like the whole body and the brain and heart come into coherence as well. Which, for anyone who's familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, he talks a lot about the power of brain and heart coherence. And for those who don't know, hemi-syncing is when you have a different frequency playing in each ear, both between 4 and 7 hertz. And based on what they're saying here, this accelerates your meditative experience and can help you astral travel or astral project much quicker.
According to the CIA, we have superhuman abilities. Watch this.
So the CIA released a document saying the universe is a hologram. And basically the document teaches you how to access superhuman abilities as well as use your consciousness to shift your reality. I'm breaking down this document section by section, and this is part 4. This section is pretty short but very interesting because it talks about the use of the hemisync. What they notice is by putting people through the hemisync system, they could have people access advanced states of meditation, maybe some states that would take the average meditator 20 years to reach, and they could have them reach it pretty much in 10 to 15 minutes. And these states would be where the left and right brain come into complete coherence, so much so that it seems like the whole body and the brain and heart come into coherence as well. Which, for anyone who's familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, he talks a lot about the power of brain and heart coherence. And for those who don't know, hemi-syncing is when you have a different frequency playing in each ear, both between 4 and 7 hertz. And based on what they're saying here, this accelerates your meditative experience and can help you astral travel or astral project much quicker.
According to the CIA, we have superhuman abilities.
This dude literally exposes how crazy it is to believe in the ball earth lie. You need to watch this, okay?
Ball here, pour a whole bunch of water on it, and watch none of the water fall off the bottom. It all sticks onto it. And while that's happening, and the water stays stuck. Not only that, you're at 1,000 miles an hour spinning this way, which also at 67,000 miles an hour, 67,000 miles an hour, while spinning 1,000, you're circling around the sun. And while that's happening, you're also chasing the sun through the Milky Way at 514,000 miles an hour. And every single night, the stars are exactly the same.
Like he said, the stars are exactly the same. While all those movements are supposedly happening, Polaris doesn't move. It literally doesn't move. And the stars all do perfect circles around Polaris into infinity. This is how it always goes, nonstop, 24/7, 365 days of the year, for over 5,000 fucking years since the Dendera stones. They're always the same constellations. Now, how is that possible? How is it possible for Polaris to always stay fixed and stationary in the night sky, to never move, if we're spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting the sun at 66.6 thousand miles per hour? Funny number that is, guys. And hurling through space at millions of miles per hour. If that was the case, the stars would be going fucking crazy. They'd be doing all sorts of crazy patterns, not perfect circles. Our ancestors always told us that the stars, the heavenly bodies, move above us. Exactly what we view and exactly what we see, and we observe with our own two eyes, is exactly what our ancestors told us. Now, I want you to listen to this very closely. This is exactly how they tell you the truth in plain sight.
No, there is no such thing as gravitational pull. We lied to you.
What was the scariest moment of the journey?
Scariest. It didn't happen. It could have been scary. Circuit breaker. It didn't happen.
Whoa.
Oh, now surely this is the right spot. Look at this. This area is filled with books about pretend people.
That's right, Grover. This is the fiction section. Fiction means it's a made-up story. This is the fiction section. Fiction means it's a made-up story.
Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth.
The Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. Kind of like all of our ancestors told us. Wow, that's crazy, eh? And you guys believe NASA, which in Hebrew means to deceive. Laughable. Wow. The truth shall set you free, but you need to decide to wake up now or never. And if you don't wake up, enjoy this life. Peace and love. This dude literally exposes how crazy it is to believe in the ball earth lie. You need to watch this, okay?
What if the Holy Grail is Jesus' bloodline, not a cup? Watch this.
I told you the Holy Grail is not a cup at all. It's a bloodline. And that bloodline started when Jesus got Mary Magdalene pregnant. Listen, forget the Sunday school version that you know about this. In the Gospel of Philip, an ancient text, they call Mary Magdalene.
What do you think about Afghanistan? It's the worst country because I can't pay for anything.
This is what Jesus really wanted you to know, and this is what the church definitely won't teach you. Listen, the real war was not between good and evil. It was between the true God and the imposter God. Okay, between the infinite source and the architect of this fake matrix that we call life, the demiurge. Jesus, he did not come to start a religion. He came to crash the system. He did not come to be a part of the simulation. Jesus came to expose the gatekeeper God and the one who was running the simulation. That is the matrix. That is our lives. Hold on. What did he say? He said, you are of your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, for there is no truth to him. John 8:44. That wasn't Jesus talking to bad people. That was Jesus exposing the system, bro. Right? That's Lucifer in disguise offering you kingdoms in exchange for your soul, bro. Now, all of these I will give to you, he said, if you will bow down to me. Matthew 4:9. You think that temptation ended in the desert?
Biggest
It's not in the external world, right? Home is in you. Do you understand what I'm telling you? When you're aligned with source. So listen to me. If you feel like you're in hell right now, good. Jesus.
Okay, so hold up. Now you're telling me not only do we have plasmoids in the sky and drones searching for the plasmoids, but now we have a vortex under the ocean where another civilization has been living for generations? I feel like every day I wake up to something new and something crazy, but at the same time, something that I believe because I believed it in my core being for my entire life. But these creatures apparently were discovered.
Let's find something else here.
Okay, so hold up. Now you're telling me not only do we have plasmoids, Okay, so hold up. Now you're telling me not only do we have plasmoids in the sky and drones searching for the plasmoids, but now we have a vortex under the ocean where another civilization has been living for generations? I feel like every day I wake up to something new and something crazy, but at the same time, something that I believe because I believed it in my core being for my entire life. But these creatures apparently were discovered uneventfully.
Yes, look at something else here.
Called gods, and the Bible calls fallen angels. Their names change, their symbols evolve, but their mission has never shifted: to deceive,
some pretty good
to
stuff.
dominate, to be worshipped. They want you looking to the stars, chasing false light, gods who never made you, while they bury the past right beneath your feet. ISIS was not just a terrorist group, it was a smokescreen, a convenient cover for the destruction of ancient relics, temples, and sites that held knowledge predating the Abrahamic traditions, predating empire. They filmed themselves smashing statues and burning libraries under the guise of religious zealotry. But the real goal? Erase the evidence. Shatter the last remaining links to the truth of humanity's origin, to the gods we once knew, and the ones who ruled over us. Is it any wonder that mankind's earliest civilizations, Mesopotamia, Assyria, Babylon, the Levant, are now perpetual war zones? Places so volatile that legitimate archaeological digs are impossible? Every bombed-out ruin, every toppled ziggurat is another layer of truth buried in dust. The war isn't just for oil or land. It's for memory. It's for history. The fallen know that if we remember who we were, we might remember who they are. Long ago they descended from the heavens, the Anunnaki and Sumerian.
Jesus didn't come to save us from God's punishment.
They didn't come from distant galaxies.
What is it here about the
They fell from
Anunnaki?
the sky near Roswell, New Mexico. 12 was not just a committee. It was the ritual handoff of a kind. Through this net, it replaces God with knowledge and unity. They came to be worshipped again.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Jesus didn't come to save us from God's punishment for being sinful, but according to the scripture and the church fathers, he did come to make us gods. Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Colton.
I don't know
I'm a
about all
Pentecostal
that.
pastor's kid, went to school to get degrees in historical Christian theology. And if you've ever felt like the story told about salvation in the West is really icky, that idea that God was so angry at us that he had to take out that anger by punishing his own son before he would even think about saving us, then I think you might be onto something. And that's actually a relatively new idea in the history of the church's understanding of God's redemptive work in Jesus. The truth is there's a much older idea, and that story is far more beautiful and far more worthy of our consideration. In the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 34, Jesus said something that would be pretty scandalous to most Christians today. He's being accused of blasphemy for calling himself the Son of God. And he quotes a passage from Psalms 82 where God is seated in the divine council in the midst of the gods. And he says,
You want to see the comments on here too?
I said you are gods? Now, most Protestant Christians will just skip over that verse or try to explain it away as a metaphor or say, he didn't really mean it. But the earliest Christians, they didn't treat it that way. They actually took it seriously. And they believed that salvation wasn't just about being forgiven or getting into heaven as some kind of reward. They believed that the whole point of Christianity was nothing less than us becoming divine. Not in the sense of replacing God or becoming equal to God by nature, but in the sense of being taken up into God's own life. And the New Testament hints at this everywhere. 2 Peter says that believers are destined to become partakers in divine nature.
Some people are against it, though,
that
right
all
here.
of us with unveiled faces are seeing the glory of God as though reflected in a mirror, and that we are being transformed into that same image from one degree of glory
I guess you
to
get both
another.
sides of it.
The Gospel of John, chapter 17, Jesus is praying to the Father, and he says, as you,
Yeah,
Father,
looking through
are
the
in
comments,
me,
it goes both
and
ways,
I
it
am
looks
in
like.
you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. And then he says, the glory that you forgiveness is just the doorway, and that the true goal is union with God, theosis, becoming by grace what God is.
Would you talk to us about Jesus?
Yes, I
Because
would.
I have a feeling that he was misunderstood.
Oh, this is like that Bassar
Very
guy.
much so. Still misunderstood to
And
this
the
day.
Bible, I'm thinking,
Isn't he like
isn't an accurate
channeling an alien or something?
No. No.
Let's see what the
Much
comment
of what,
saying.
in that sense, that individual was teaching is very similar to what you are now understanding in what you call your metaphysical age. The idea is that simply people back then couldn't understand.
Saying the same thing as the Bassar
to put it in
guy.
a more fundamental sense, Yeshua, or as you say, Jesus, really did not intend in any way, shape, or form to create followers. Intended to create leaders, equals. Did not intend to create Christians per se, intended to let you all know you are Christ's. That's the greatest misunderstanding of the information. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So much of what you're understanding today is the idea that that individual was teaching. Even down to the concept of how powerfully your beliefs create your reality, yes? Because did not...
Why does he have to talk like that, though?
Degree, the Bible quote him as saying...
I'm pretty sure people will still listen to him. Like he's on TV and stuff.
Yes. And did it not also say that when Yeshua even went back to his hometown, because people there only knew him as a carpenter and did not believe in the things that other people said he could do.
What?
He could do none of those things
This guy
in his hometown.
is his eyes closed the whole time?
Very clearly. You understand?
Yes.
It's all about the idea of your belief system. It's all about the idea of what you know to be true. It's all about your actions, all about your alignment. This is all that individual was saying. That's what he meant when he said, I am the way. He meant be this way. I'm the example. I'm the way. Be like me.
It's all good
Don't
stuff,
go
though.
around telling everyone.
I was looking through the
how
comments here, too.
be
This is
like
mostly all positive. on
Makes
this
sense?
one.
Yes. Would you talk to
Makes
us
sense
about
to me.
Jesus?
Yes.
I don't know why his eyes are closed.
Do you realize you have to pay for airspace now? You can't even fly in certain airspaces. Tyler Perry, I don't know if they swept this under the rug or not, but 2 years ago, he bought airspace and somebody flew in his airspace and he sued the people that flew in his airspace. How can you own air? So all the natural elements that we are comprised and made of, they're now charging for. So how can I charge you for sunlight? Kill the old sun, connect a sun stimulator to it, which is what they did during that false eclipse that we think wasn't towards the sun anymore. It's a natural phenomenon that's going on where all living biological entities is not doped up, not put in a slumber, not on alcohol and drugs, know that this sun is fake or they done put something on this sun. They running away from it.
The sun's fake now.
This is
The moon's fake and the sun is fake.
The mastermind is not a meeting. It is not a book club. It is a spiritual army assembled for conquest. It is not about networking. It is about covenant. The man on mission must choose his circle with the same precision a general chooses his lieutenants, because every mind you invite into your plans is either planting faith or planting fracture. Some men do not look dangerous, but their opinions are poison. They make fear sound like caution. They speak doubt like wisdom. They applaud smallness. They delay vision with politeness. You cannot afford such men in your ear. Not now, not ever. This is why you must build your mastermind as if your life depends on it, because it does. You need men around you who are not impressed with your words, but obsessed with your results.
Well, this goes on
Men
for
who
a
do not
minute.
flatter, but fuel. Who
Probably good
speak
stuff, though,
strategy,
right?
not sympathy. Who remind you of your definite chief aim when you start speaking like a stranger to your purpose. One man of clarity beside you is worth more than 1,000 followers who merely support you with silence. And if you are married, this command becomes even more sacred. Your wife is not an ornament. She is your highest mastermind, your most powerful spiritual ally, or your most dangerous distraction. If you are not walking toward God together, you are drifting apart, even if you share a roof. Do not mistake proximity for alignment. Revive the vision together. Schedule it. Pray now seems distant. Do not blend or near you. Become the man they would follow.
Monotone.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for Team to come up with one of the characteristics of a mirage.
Of a mirage, what do you mean? Explain to me what you mean by a mirage. There are inferior mirages. There's superior mirages. What type of mirage do you want? I mean, do you want me to give you an example of what I'm talking about, or what a temperature inversion is? Well, that's where the light goes into a higher temperature medium, and because of the fact that it's a higher temperature medium, the light bends up so that it appears lower than where it actually is. I told you before plenty of times, I'll tell you again, if you're going to be providing evidence, then you need to be backing it up with the claims that you're making. If you're saying that, okay, I'm seeing the Chicago skyline, why is that? And I say, well, it's because that we're seeing atmospheric conditions that allow on this particular day, under these particular atmospheric conditions, that we're able to see this observation, that we're not going to see it every day. You can't prove me wrong just with one simple observation, one simple picture that you don't even have a refractive index on the picture. You're just saying, hey, look at this picture. Guys, look, it's more than I can see. Prove to me that it's more than you can see. Prove to me that there's no way that that's a possibility to conditions.
Light or an image?
Light.
Was an image bent around the propane tank?
Light.
Could you see around the corner of the propane tank, Team?
What the fuck does that even mean? Light, you don't look around anything. Light comes to you and you see the light that comes to you. So if you're bending light around a corner, that's what's happening. The light is traveling in a straight line. It enters into a different medium.
I don't even know what they're fucking talking about.
That's what the difference is. The refractive index is.
When you have a spiritual awakening, you really start to see life as the Truman Show. Because when you have a spiritual awakening, it's like you start to see all the BS in society. You start to see this shit like Truman. You start to see the stage lights. You start to see the fake ass backgrounds. You start to see all the bullshit. This shit is a set. It's not real. Because that's what society is. It's a stage. Real. All this shit is staged. Right. And then just like in the Truman Show, when you start to notice all of this shit is fake, all this shit is staged, all of the actors on the stage will start to try to convince you that it's real. You start to see through all the bullshit. You seeing through all the BS. And the actors are like, no, what are you talking about? It is real. No, don't deviate from it. No, don't try to escape it. No, it's real. What are you talking about? Life started to be like the Truman Show. Because a lot of times when you have a spiritual awakening, a lot of people will start to say that you're just crazy. A lot of people will say you're going through psychosis. But a lot of the time, it's just because you start to constantly keep seeing through all the bullshit, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And sometimes that shit can cause a little bit of psychosis. Because you start to question, what the fuck is real? Is any of this real? Is any of the people even real? Because when you truly awaken, you really start to see through all the fuckery nonsense. And this shit really becomes damn near like a movie. Because no.
Whoa. So you're saying the mark of the beast has already happened, and the tribulation has already happened, and that the book of Revelation has already happened. I think you're crazy. You only think I'm crazy because you think that these passages were written to you. Well, they weren't written to you. They were written to first century Jews for specific times, for specific periods. Okay, well, what was it supposed to mean to them then? The tribulation was actually foretelling the tribulation that the Jews were going to experience when Rome sacked Jerusalem. Well, I guess that would make all that run-of-the-hill stuff make more sense. Yep, and 666, that's actually Emperor Nero. Okay, what about all of that? Like, you'll see the Son of Man coming on the clouds, and, you know, there will be a new heavens and new earth. What about all that? Those are actually euphemisms that the ancient Jews would have understood. It's actually high likely that those were metaphorical and not literal things. Really? Yeah, you need to understand that we're in the last days. When Jesus rose from the dead, that instituted God's kingdom on earth. And the kingdom is going to do exactly what Jesus said it's going to do. It's going to take over the world. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So you're saying the mark of the beast has already happened?
What you're looking at right here is the Chronicles of Georgia, and until today, I didn't even know this existed. Now, this looks like an Iron Age mystery, but it was actually built in 1985. 16 towers of stone and bronze telling Georgia's stories of Christianity and the royals. There even seems to be depictions of some sort of Anunnaki figures on the structures. Of course, this is my own individual observation, but you can see some very interesting figures. Obviously, we see Jesus on the cross, we see some royals and all that stuff, but there is some, like I said, Anunnaki looking figures like this. Now, there's another theory that this is an ancient structure, and they just said that they built it in 1985 and used cranes and all that stuff, but who knows? I'm not 100% sure. I never believe what I hear from the mainstream, but if anyone has any information on, the Chronicles of Georgia, let us know in the comments down below. And as always, like, share, and follow for more hidden truth. Peace and love. What you're looking at right here is the Chronicles of Georgia.
Should look into that one.
If the Earth is flat, why is Antarctica colder than the North Pole? So picture this, we've got two ends of the Earth, right? On the globe model, the Arctic is up top, and Antarctica is down at the bottom. Both get about the same sunlight, both are covered in ice, both are supposed to be extreme. But in reality, the North Pole is warmer, it has seasons of melting ice, it even has wildlife and plants surviving there. Meanwhile, Antarctica? It's a giant desert of ice, no trees, no villages, no cozy little animals. Just endless ice walls, freezing winds, and temperatures so brutal that humans can't even live there permanently. Doesn't that already sound suspicious? Now here's where it gets interesting. On the flat Earth model, Antarctica isn't a little continent at the bottom. It's actually a massive ice ring that surrounds the entire world. That changes everything. If Antarctica is the edge barrier, it means it's constantly shielded from direct sunlight. Unlike the North Pole, which gets the sun circling overhead throughout the year, the Antarctic ring sits on the farthest reaches, always catching the weakest angle of the sun's light. That would explain why it's colder, why it's harsher, and why it feels like a frozen prison nobody can escape. And think about this, why do we hear about expeditions to the North Pole, but never about freely exploring Antarctica? Why are there international treaties signed by dozens of countries making sure regular people can't just go there on their own? If it's just a frozen wasteland, what's there to hide? Maybe it's because if anyone could explore it fully, they'd realize it's not just a continent. It's the very edge of our world. Here's another thought. On the globe model, the sun is supposed to be 93 million miles away, blasting the Earth evenly. But if that were true, how could the North Pole be warmer than the South when they're basically the same thing? Shouldn't both poles be equally frozen? Unless, of course, the sun is much closer, much smaller, and moving in circles above us, like a spotlight. In that case, areas closer to the center, like the Arctic, get more direct exposure. Areas farther out, like Antarctica, are lit from a distance, which keeps them colder. Suddenly, everything starts making sense. And one more thing, why do we see videos of penguins in Antarctica, but not thriving human settlements? Yet, in the Arctic, we've got people living there, building communities, raising families.
Pretty interesting.
They've been poisoning y'all water all summer. They was told to stop doing that. The Nerubians are here. Planet Nibiru. The Nerubians are here. The Nerubians are the ones who originally salted all the seas. All your seas that you see with salt water in them, the seas were not originally salty. All your oceans, seas, how they got salt, it wasn't like that. The Nerubians salted the seas a long time ago.
Oh yeah, I've heard it.
They are back. They've been cleaning up the water. They've been cleaning up the atmosphere. Getting all the oxygen out the air. We finna go back blue, red, and green any day now. Mark my word. And that's gonna happen all of a sudden. That ain't gonna be no.
This is a timeline of what must happen in Israel before Jesus returns. You're going to be shocked when you compare what's happening in Israel today with these 17 signs on our prophetic timeline. But first, we need to begin with sign number 1.
17.
When Jesus' disciples asked him, "What will be the signs of your second coming?" he didn't begin with global war or even the Antichrist, although we'll get to that. He pointed to the Jewish temple and said that not one stone of the temple will be left on another. And guess what? 40 years later, that's exactly what happened. Roman armies invaded Jerusalem, burned the temple, and tore it apart stone by stone, and it hasn't been rebuilt since. But what happened? That the nation of Israel would be scattered across the nations of the world. And that's exactly what happened. The people of Israel were scattered across the world with no land, no army, and no government. But take a look at what God says next. "I will take you, Israel, from among the nations, gather you out of all the countries, and bring you into your own land." Now, with this in mind, take a look at this 1998 LA Times newspaper that's starting to fall apart. Half a century after the Zionist dream came true, the Jewish state has emerged as a modern, prosperous member of the world community. It goes on to talk about the miraculous events that took place on May 14th, 1948. On that day, Israel became a nation for a second time, something that had never happened in the history of the world before, exactly like God said would happen. And this had to happen for the rest of the signs to take place, including some that may be starting to take place in the news today. I'm really excited to tell you about those, so I'm going to cover sign number 3 fast. Shortly after sign number 2 happened and Israel became a nation again, many Bible prophecy scholars realized that another war in Israel was about to happen. This is because many of the signs of the end times take place in a Jewish-controlled Jerusalem. And in 1948, Israel only controlled half of Jerusalem until the 1967 war, when they took full control of the city, setting the stage for the next few signs, which I believe we're about to see unfold before our eyes. In fact, sign number 4 is already beginning to take place as I speak. Take a look at this massive menorah made out of one single block of pure gold. This menorah is sitting in Jerusalem today and was created according to the exact specifications given by God in the Bible for his ancient temple. Many Jewish people in Israel today are preparing to build a third temple, which is why they've recreated a temple menorah, along with many other items required for temple worship. They've even started breeding red heifers, which are one of the things required to purify the temple. As you'll see in a moment, according to the Bible, this temple must be built before sign number 13 takes place. But for now, Israel has allowed Muslims to have control of the Temple Mount for political and security reasons. Basically, they don't want to start World War III. Which ironically brings us to the war in Israel you're seeing on the news today, and I believe will lead into the next 4 signs on the timeline. Let me explain. Signs 6 through 8 have to do with the massive war that's going to take place in the Middle East. Bigger than anything we've ever seen before. But sign number 5 has to do with what's going to happen right before this massive battle takes place. This is why I actually want to cover these signs first before I reveal sign number 5, because I think it will make more sense. This is a timeline of...
Well, I guess it ended.
Did you know that an entire empire has been erased from history? Once upon a time, you could open any map from the 1500s through to the 1800s and find a massive territory labeled Tartaria, or Grand Tartary. This was no little kingdom. We're talking about an empire that stretched from Eastern Europe across Asia. What happened to the once magnificent civilization? Did they disappear naturally, or is there more to the sudden vanishing? Before we dive into the conspiracy, let's start with the most undeniable evidence of all, the maps. Take a look at maps from the 1500s to 1800s. For over 3 centuries, European cartographers showed a vast region called Tartaria, or Grand Tartary. These weren't rough sketches or fantasy maps. One look and you'll see the empire dominating huge swaths of Asia. Spanish exist on paper. The question is, how did this happen?
Where did it go?
At first, there were hundreds of historical maps documenting this empire over 3 centuries, and then nothing. Modern atlases contain no trace of it. Geography textbooks never mention it. It's as if an entire chapter of world history was torn out of the books.
I caught their hands in the cookie jar. Do you know what this company's real name is? And the horrible, terrible things they have done? If you think you know the name of this company,
I have no idea.
real name, but don't cheat.
Let me see. United Fruit Company.
You've seen this before. You probably even bought from them, but you have no idea.
I saw it right here in the comments.
In the 1950s, this company
United
had a
Fruit.
problem. A democratically elected president wanted to give power back to the people by giving them land. But the problem was, this land supposedly belonged to them. So this company, they made a call.
United Fruit
They made
Company.
a call to Washington and got the CIA to overthrow their government. This banana company started a war. Thousands died. The company collapsed. Also, they could sell cheap bananas. They were originally called United Fruit Company. So what's my point? Well, I'll explain it. And those who make it to the end of this explanation, I'm going to tell you something about bananas that they never wanted you to know. See, it doesn't matter if it's a fruit company, a tech company.
Should I just skip to the end of that?
When a small group wants to change the world, they form something called a mastermind. A few people lead it, and they teach everybody off the page, and with that system, you'll never have to work again. Some of you are wondering, well, how that's possible. That's going to cost a lot of money. Yeah, it's $1,000 a month for the members. But somebody's got to pull the resources together to change the world. If you're willing to invest $1,000 a month into changing the world, comment mastermind below or message.
No.
Let's flip the script. What if up is down and down is up? What if you look down into space standing up on Earth? This is how we built the pyramids. You play in the sandbox. It's easy to move a mountain of sand into position. Once you wet sand, it holds its form like concrete. You put the first brick at the apex of this motherfucker, right? You move sand out of this corner and that corner and place bricks there on both sides all the way to the top. Now you let the sand dry out and drop that brick right through that bitch. Sand under pressure when it's dry moves like fluid. That's why you always find viaducts in all of the motherfucking pyramids, so the sand can shoot the fuck out the bitch. Now you have a hollow chasm. And it's built into...
That's probably incorrect.
How did we go from fighting a revolution over a 2% tax on a breakfast beverage to what we pay today?
I hear that line so often.
When we spend it, when we invest it, and even when we die with it. We commute to work to make that money in a car that is taxed again to register on roads we're already taxed to build, fueled by gas that is taxed even further. And then when you get to your office that is taxed to exist, you are paid a paycheck that the corporation must match another payroll tax on top of what they have to pay you. Then you go to a home of which you are taxed to own every single year that we bought with money that the government already taxed us on. But it wasn't always like this. In fact, in 1895, the Supreme Court ruled any federal taxes against its citizens were unconstitutional. So the government did what the government does best. It protected and expanded itself by passing the 16th Amendment. Basically, the government gave us the middle finger and gave themselves the power to basically do whatever they want. People back then were more angry about that 1% tax rate than we are about our 37% tax rate today. That is the power of creeping gradualism of government that I'm always warning you guys about. How did we go from fighting a revolution?
It's going to get up to like 50% taxes
ChatGPT, what
pretty
happens
soon.
if you put a balloon in a vacuum?
If you put a balloon into a vacuum, the lack of external pressure would cause the air inside the balloon to expand rapidly. Essentially, the balloon would inflate even more until it reaches its elastic limit. If the balloon's material can't handle that stress, it will eventually burst.
Okay, ChatGPT, what happens if you put the Earth in a vacuum?
Sure, if the Earth were placed into a perfect vacuum, the difference in pressure would be huge and the atmosphere would quickly escape into space. That would cause the water to boil away and the planet's surface would become extremely hostile. Basically, Earth couldn't survive in a vacuum without its atmosphere.
ChatGPT, what happens if you put a balloon
I don't know if that's correct. See, ChatGPT can be wrong.
The lack of external pressure would cause...
We're living in the biggest shift since the Industrial Revolution, and most people don't even realize it. Think about it real quick. our grandparents.
We live in the AI
lived in
shift.
factories. Our parents followed in the same path. And now the new wealth is being built online. Digital products, automation, AI, and personal brands, they're replacing the old system. And the scary part is that most people are still playing by the old rules, trying to climb the corporate ladder, thinking it's going to get better and hoping it pays off. But the game is already changing due to the implementation of AI. So today, the ones who win are the ones who leverage the internet, building a personal brand, offering digital products that can be sold thousands of times over and over again, pieces of content over the years that is going to impact and influence millions of people. And by the way, if you're that type of person who wants to start creating content and building a personal brand and monetize your social.
So you say during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, this is good. I wonder what the fake. You like this idea?
If the president orders martial law or declares martial law, then they can stay in office as a president. Potentially, there could be a play to extend the second term into a third term by creating these brash, hardcore, dramatic abductions that are creating.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
That eventually will create a potential.
Give him like
which will lead to
complete reign, like some kind of king.
Once martial law is declared due to an executive order, he can actually stay in as president an extended term. And then after that, he can have a private cabinet vote to keep him in 1 year at a time, bypassing any.
We're gonna have to keep him in because of the alien invasion.
During
The biggest scam of the world is convincing everyone to work for 60 years straight, sacrificing their youth, dreams, time with loved ones, and personal freedom, all while being told that one day, after decades of labor, they'll finally get to enjoy life. The reality? By the time they retire, they're in their 70s. Their bodies are tired, health problems have begun, and the energy they once had is long gone. What's left is only a short window to live freely. But it's not true freedom anymore. You're shackled by age, medication, and regret. All those moments with family, friends, and past have gone, traded for a paycheck, and when you finally have time, you're too old to enjoy it. That's the real cost of a lifetime of work. Remember that time is the most valuable currency, and trading it all for work without living fully is the real loss. If you're not following us, you are probably never going to see us again. But if you are, congratulations, you are growing every day.
Isaac Newton is the biggest fraud in
I've got your ass.
Gravity holds the oceans because the Earth's mass creates a gravitational field that pulls all matter, including the massive volume of water. So what that means is gravity is so strong that it holds the water in place, so when the Earth spins, the water doesn't go everywhere, but it's just enough gravity that a beautiful butterfly can keep flying through the air. How can anybody believe this? This makes sense. How can the Earth be spinning, but yet the water doesn't go everywhere? Because gravity holds it down. But a butterfly is light enough to fly through the gravity and the spinning and not be dizzy. You son of a bitch. Isaac Newton.
Did you know a dying Hollywood executive revealed a hidden system that controls every major blockbuster film? In 2019, former studio head Marcus Weinstein made a shocking deathbed confession to his nurse. He claimed that any film expected to gross over $100 million must include specific symbols placed at exact timestamps. A secret database maintained by an unnamed organization reviews every major script before production begins. Directors receive coded instructions about where to insert these symbols hidden in plain sight throughout their movies. The penalty for non-compliance? Immediate funding withdrawal and distribution blacklisting. Weinstein described how 3 executives tried to expose this system in the early 2000s. Within 6 months, all 3 found their careers mysteriously destroyed by sudden scandals. He mentioned seeing the same symbols across dozens of films, always appearing at the 17-minute mark or during climactic scenes. The organization allegedly tracks audience reactions to measure the symbol's effectiveness. According to Weinstein, this has been standard practice since the late 1980s. Every blockbuster you've ever loved may contain hidden messages you never noticed. The entertainment industry's biggest secret hiding in plain sight. Did you know a dying Hollywood executive revealed a hidden system that controls every...
So I asked ChatGPT if the Millennium Reign ever happened. It said yes. I said,
oh no, it did.
Dark Ages. It said yes. I said, is this what some people refer to as Tartaria?
I don't know.
It said yes. And if you don't know what Tartaria is, you should research it, but it's whenever they built structures like this and like this. And it was the 1,000-year reign, or what they call the Dark Ages. They claim it was a time
Look at that
of
building,
no
though.
advancement, no
For
plumbing,
real.
but yet they had structures like this that were built. And somehow they were able to build all of this with like a chisel and a hammer.
Yeah.
Look at the detail. And they say that we can't. We don't have
And
the
then
technology.
it's like
to
a
build
post
it anymore.
office or some shit
Some say it was
nowadays,
a highly
right? That's
technological
what they said it
age
was.
where we were able to live in abundance, free energy, and use harmony with things like the bells, where every city, every town had these bells that had a frequency that kept everybody in harmony and peace. But yet somehow after this period ended, they destroyed all the bells. They
It was fucking
Every
noisy.
year, the richest person in the world should be sacrificed and their wealth distributed to the poorest among us. Every year, we would have billionaires scrambling to distribute their wealth in an attempt to ensure they aren't the one that's pushed out into the ocean next year. What do you think? Every year, the richest person
Well, no, you
in the
just
world
get better
should be
at hiding your
sacrificed
money.
and their wealth distributed to the poorest among us. Every year, we would
Women in the 1940s lost weight. The first ultra-processed food was Kellogg's cornflakes. They partnered with the United Fruit Company. They paid doctors to tell people bananas were a rich source of potassium, which they're not, and to say that the perfect meal to start your day was a bowl of cornflakes with a slice of banana. That's how the famous combo came about. And they went so far as to put a coupon for a bunch of bananas in every box of Kellogg's cornflakes. Cereal. No human being had a bowl of dry breakfast cereal prior to 1906. Cereal was invented by the Kellogg's brothers, and it was actually these companies that convinced people the healthiest way to start your morning was a bowl of cereal with milk. Also, oats are basically pure sugar. Oatmeal is good for one thing, and that's for fattening horses for the winter.
What's better, orange juice or cereal?
Neither. Before the 1920s, nobody drank orange juice. People ate oranges instead. But in the 1920s, Sunkist saw a business opportunity. They started marketing orange juice as a daily health drink. And they convinced people the healthiest way to start their day was a full glass of orange juice. Even doctors were recruited to push the benefits of vitamin C. And the public bought it. Remember, breakfast is break fast. Lots of human and animal studies have shown the longer you...
How's your phone work? Your cell phone, tell me how it works. This was the other bitchiness that I got from people over and over again. They're like, well, all you're doing is saying, how does your phone work? No, I'm trying to draw your attention to literal tech metrics. I don't know where my phone went. So that you understand how easy it is to log into you and make a change. So, how did we get to this point where all these good people in radio frequency, etc., that they don't know shit about what we're actually doing in the human body? And in order to explain all of this, I've had to make a gazillion signs. I've had to come back out here over and over again. And I've been trying to figure out why it is, there's my phone, that nobody else seems to know these things. Okay, this is my great uncle's folder from Shepherd Air Force Base. I often also show his Aberdeen Proving Ground stuff. That's my little pink book, wherever it's hiding at the moment. And then I also go over his old notes with flux density notation with mercury and whatnot. Why? So that people understand that this has been going on for a really long time. So tell me how your phone works. When you click a button and you send an email, you don't see the email leave the phone. It's a wireless, invisible signal, just like your body. It's a body part. So when I worked at UW Whitewater, for my job, I found IBM software that they alleged was also used way back when Fauci and them wanted to get their shit off the ground for attacking the human immune system. Well, if you don't know that the human immune system is 80% your biofield, you called it the aura, you called it stupid. Yeah, I know. That's because 6,000 years of human telemetry, chiropractic, and the rest of it for your circulatory system just magically disappeared. Nobody has any idea what's going on. That was 6,000 years of the human circulatory system. You call it chakras. Yeah, they call it aim and fire. 150 years ago, Aleister Crowley and people, yeah, nothing's real except what you can see. There is no biofield. There's no cymatics, there's no radionics, there's no plasmonics. There's nothing except what you can see. Well, that's a body part that's responsible for 80% of our immune system. How do we know for sure? The definition of Children's Hospital, the organs and tissues that comprise the immune system, the thymus, the bone marrow, the lymphatic, your vessels, your spleen, and your skin. And so...
Have a look at this newspaper from 1964 by the Bridgeport Sunday Post. It says the moon is a mirage, a reflection of the Earth's surface. Now, this is very interesting, but check this out. This is the German World War II flat Earth map showing more continents and lands beyond the ice wall. So here's the map right here, and here's the moon. And you can see this is where we live right here within this circle. And this is exactly what the Germans knew. And the map's also showing these continents outside of our ice wall, outside of the firmament. Now have a look at the Prague astronomical clock. This is the oldest working clock in the entire world. And not only does it track time, it tracks solar movements, it tracks equinoxes, it tracks lunar positions and the moon phases, it tracks zodiac signs, solstices, and the seasons with pinpoint accuracy running for over 600 years. In the middle of this clock, they used the moon map. This clock runs on a geocentric
pretty interesting theory right here.
Bodies moving above our stationary Earth. It's the only way that it works, and it's the only way that it works so accurately. If the Earth was spinning and orbiting the sun and doing all sorts of crazy movements through the galaxy, you'd never be able to track with such precision. All our ancestors knew that the stars move above us. That's exactly what we observe. And you want to know something very interesting? During the pandemic, they renovated this clock. They renovated a 600-year-old Tartarian clock. And you want to know what they did? They changed the moon map, the flat Earth map in the middle of the clock, to a globe. This is literally how they cover up the real origins of humanity and our true history, guys. This is an absolute abomination and disgrace to our ancestors. Don't you find it interesting how all these old newspapers, old maps, they all reflect exactly what our ancestors told us, and then, you know, the elites come in and rewrite all of our history, erase the history on the clocks and everything. Now, this is quite literally biblical stuff, guys. The moon reflects the earth. It is as above, so below. If you're a believer in the Bible and you still think that the earth is a globe, then you haven't read the Bible, because the Bible says it's stationary. There's a firmament above us. The moon reflects our stationary earth. You can see it. It's very obvious. They show the ice wall and everything. You've just been lied to about, look at this. You've been lied to about everything in your life, because what they're doing and why they lie about the heliocentric model and a spinning globe earth is to hide God's true creation. They don't want you to know how powerful you are. They don't want you to know that you were intelligently created by an intelligent creator. They want you to think all of this came from a big bang, that there's no significance to life whatsoever, and you'll just stay stuck and trapped in their matrix system. But once you start to understand the truth, that is when you are set free. And the truth to everything lies within us all. That's where God is. Peace and love. Have a look at this newspaper from 19...
That's pretty good.
There's not enough cows to be sold. There's not enough cows to be slayed for there to be a McDonald's at every exit. And we talking about city. You can look at the smallest town in the world and they have a McDonald's. How is that? How do you have a McDonald's? How do you have a Burger King? How do you have a Wendy's in all of these cities, and they're thriving and people are lined up back to back getting all of these hamburgers and nuggets? You telling me there's enough chickens, there's enough cows around the world to be...
It's people, right? It's people that we're gonna get to.
1,000 to one state. We talking about 100 to one city. We talking about riding down one freeway system and seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at every exit. Come on. There's not enough cows to be sold. There's not enough.
Yeah, I've seen this one before.
1,000-year reign of Jesus Christ. I'm the only person in the world who has been revealed to what this actually
Yeah,
means.
the only one.
So if you know anybody that talks about the 1,000-year reign, send them this video. Come check out my other videos. Give me a follow. I've got everything leading up to and about this and after this, during this, all of it. But let's start out with the word 1,000. That's actually just a simple translation error, which I'll get into as we go along in this video. But what was the reign of Christ? Whatever Jesus said on earth is what the book of Revelation is about. So what was the reign of Christ? He said whenever he came back in the glory of his Father with all of his holy angels, then he would sit down on the throne of his glory. What's that? That's the reign of Christ. He said whenever he did that, they would be given 12 thrones to judge the 12 tribes of Israel. Right? He said again that they would sit down in his kingdom with him, sup at his table, and sit upon
Interesting.
the throne judging the 12 tribes of Israel. This is what it means in the book of Revelation, whenever he said that as he sat down on his Father's throne, they would sit down on the throne with him, and they would break the nations into shivers. This is Israel being destroyed. And when did this happen? 66 AD, on the 21st day of Artemisius, as is recorded in history. In 66 AD, there were armies and chariots and soldiers running on the clouds in shining armor, circling the cities in Israel. When? Exactly whenever Jesus said that it would happen. He said that they would preach the gospel, therefore, right, to all nations, and then the end would come. Therefore, when they saw the abomination of desolation, or as Luke said, whenever they saw the armies come to Jerusalem, flee Judea. The gospel preachers would preach until the armies came, and then they would flee. No more gospel preachers. Now, this video is about the 1,000-year reign. If I really got into it, this video would be an hour long, because the 1,000-year reign isn't just something you can say in a couple sentences. It's basically what all the words and the wrath of Jesus was about, and a third, maybe two-thirds of Revelation is about the reign of Christ. So what were all the nations that they preached the gospel to? On the day of Pentecost, they were there, dwelling at Jerusalem, Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven. Go read Acts chapter 2. That was every nation. Now, once they preached to them, like Jesus said, whenever they saw the armies come, they were done preaching. Flee Judea. Get out. Look up, for your redemption draws nigh. Then they would see the sign of the Son of Man coming in the clouds, which happened in 66 AD. Another point, we know that the reign of Christ and the 1,000-year reign already happened because Jesus said some of them standing there with him whenever he was alive would not die or taste death until they saw the Son of Man coming in his kingdom to reward every man according to their works. Every man was not rewarded according to their works until after the 1,000-year reign. Now, some people didn't die until then. They didn't live to be 1,000 years old. Some people did not die until after the reign of Christ. Again, we know that Satan was defeated back then because Jesus said 2,000 years ago, now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be. And he gathered the armies together with the beast and the false prophet. He was the 8th head on the beast. He was of the 7, went into perdition, right? But whenever he came back up out, he gathered all of Jerusalem, all of Israel together.
Oh. Nope.
Christ returned in judgment in the 1st century, and the millennial reign already happened.
He's talking about it
with many
too.
Christians, and I have this problem too, is that we believe in Christ, but we don't believe Christ. Then the disciples ask Jesus, when are you going to come back? Okay? They say, tell us, when will these things happen? What will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? And Jesus answers them in Matthew 24, the whole chapter. He listed in sequential order. The whole chapter is a bullet point, like event by event, of things that are going to happen for you to know, my disciples, that I'm about to come back. He listed right there, and it was a warning to them, and it was an imminent preparation talk for them, the disciples back then, not Sherry that's in the nail salon in 2025. He's not talking to Rico in the gym at Planet Fitness. He's not talking to Rico. He's talking to Peter. He's warning and preparing Peter of great tribulation. You know, when you see the abomination of desolation in the holy place, you got to flee. You got to leave. Don't go back and get your coat. You know, you better hope you're not pregnant. Better hope you're not nursing. All that stuff. It's going to be the worst time in human history. And if those times didn't end, then no one would survive. All that stuff was verified, historically verified by Josephus. Women were eating their own infants. during the Great Tribulation of 66 to 73 AD. He warned them when he was going to come back. Jesus continues and says, but immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. And the stars will fall from the sky and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And there will be signs of the Son of Man appearing in the sky. And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with power and great glory. Coming on the clouds is a return of judgment. It's a spiritual return. He didn't return physically.
A lot of people agree, and they put gospel in here with
all
it.
That stuff, funny stuff's going to be happening in the sky. That was reported by Josephus. Christians don't know this information. You need to do your research. This was historically verified.
ChatGPT about it.
Was happening in the sky during those times in the first century. It was documented during the Great Tribulation between 66 and 73 AD. The 7 years.
ChatGPT tell you all about it.
It already happened. Jesus says, truly will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. We don't believe Christ. Like, this is a clear, obvious, direct, literal statement. And we still don't believe.
In the near future, science will announce that consciousness is the fabric of reality and that matter is nothing more than crystallized vibration. It will come from quantum information theory and unified physics complete with equations and peer-reviewed studies.
Sounds about right.
But this will not be new. Ancient civilizations already understand this. Their temples, their sacred geometry, their chants and initiations weren't decorative or symbolic. They were precision tools for shaping fields of thought. They didn't try to affect reality. They understood they were inside it, moving it from the inside out. So when the news breaks and the headlines call it a breakthrough, remember, this is not the future arriving. It's the oldest truth finally returning in a language our current world will accept. In the near future...
99, proceeded, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston. Beds are good.
It's too legit to quit.
They lied and said it's the year 2025 when in reality it's the year 1315. I made this whole video and then it got deleted.
I made this whole thing up.
This whole theory rests on the fact that the millennial reign of Christ has already happened, and they added time, fake history, to obscure the fact that Christ already reigned. This is the partially fake timeline that they say that we are on right now. And the beginning of this is okay. So,
yeah, you can pause it there. Take a look at that timeline. Yeah, down here, 0 AD, birth of Yeshua Christ. 30 to 33, death and resurrection, okay. 70 AD, temple destruction. 100 to 300, early church spreads. Goes on. Year 500 to 1500 are the Dark Ages, so there's nothing. That seems pretty sus.
Jesus was born around 0 AD, and from 30 to 33 AD, he does his ministry, dies on the cross, resurrected from the dead. The destruction of the temple, 70 AD, all that checks out. The early church spreads, that's all fine. Roman Empire declines, all right, we'll just leave that there. But then, here's where the big issue comes in. Right here, the Dark Ages, between 500 and 1500 AD. So that's essentially 500 to 1,000 years of no innovation. No cultural innovation, no literature, no nothing. People were just twiddling their thumbs in the dark. Just sitting around. Isn't that suspicious? Doesn't that raise any red flags? Just in the last 20 to 30 years of your country, look at all the changes that have happened. Or your city, or whatever. We don't just sit around. Human beings don't just sit around for 1,000 years and do nothing, no innovation. That's fake. Now, Satan was bound I believe the millennial reign of Christ already happened. So Satan was bound for 1,000 years. And guess who would call it the Dark Ages? If you're Satan and you're bound in the abyss for 1,000 years, pitch black, you can't see jack squat in your face for 1,000 years, yeah,
right.
That's Dark Ages for him. And when he got out after the end of millennial reign, he told the Luciferians, yeah, let's call it the Dark Ages. They added fake kings, queens, popes, wars in the Dark Ages. All that stuff is fake. I believe it's fake. Okay, and then we have the Protestant Reformation. We come up to the 1700s. We have Enlightenment, Industrial Age, the fake wars, fake Revolutionary War. I don't think Revolutionary War happened. Probably fake Civil War too. Probably fake too. 1900s to now, the Christians, a lot of Christians are banking on the rapture. I love my rapture brothers and sisters in Christ. I don't think it's going to happen, but Christ is going to return soon, and it's better for us to prepare to endure with Christ to the end on the earth than to hope and put your faith in and escape. And then the alien invasion. So this is the fake, partially fake timeline that they say that we live on. Now, I believe this is the true timeline, and this is a work in progress, all right? Everyone relax. So the beginning of this is the same as the other one, all right? Christ is born. Jesus does his ministry. He dies on the cross and resurrected from the dead between 30 to 33 AD. And then the tribulation. The temple is destroyed. Judgment was brought to Jerusalem, to the Jews, for crucifying the Messiah of the world. Between 66 and 73 AD was the Great Tribulation. Rome destroyed the temple. The abomination of desolation essentially circled Jerusalem. All that stuff is historically verified. Jesus predicted the future. It was corroborated by Josephus, a non-Christian historian in the 1st century. Josephus talked about if he died.
Yeah, I believe in this.
Soldiers
I think it's
in the sky. They heard crowds of people talking in the clouds, stuff like that. Christians, a lot of Christians don't even know about that stuff. Research Josephus, the Jewish wars. Okay. Like Christ kept his word. He sent forth his angels and all that stuff. It all already happened. Nero was the Antichrist.
All this history is burned up in the Library of Alexandria.
Latin and Hebrew equals
and
666.
whatever history we have of this is stored deep in the Vatican where nobody can read it.
73 AD. The Great Tribulation already happened. Nero wanted to be worshipped as God. He had a mark system, beast system, all that. It already happened. Okay? And so then, in between 66 and 1070 AD was the millennial reign of Christ. All right? Satan was bound in the abyss for 1,000 years. Tartaria was the physical evidence of the millennial reign of Christ. All those beautiful stone and marble buildings built with precision and perfection.
That's it.
Perfect symmetry. And they say that it was all done by hammer and chisel with no cranes, no bulldozers, nothing, which is a lie. All that stuff is from the millennial reign of Christ. Either the people had amazing technology or they had angelic help from angels to pull that off. Okay? If you look at those buildings, it does not make sense for them to have done that by hand. Also, in some of these buildings, you have the letter I or J and then the 3 numbers. So like J875 or something like that, which is Year of Our Lord 875, or year 875 in the millennial reign of Christ. There are also coins that are the same way. The millennial reign ended only 250 years ago, roughly. And so we're living right now, I think, in 1315. If you remove the Dark Ages and remove all that fake history, all the fake wars and fake kings and queens and all that stuff, you take all that stuff out, we're in the year 1315 or 13, anywhere between 13.
I don't know about all that.
Okay, and then we're gonna have an alien invasion. That's coming.
Yeah, that's gonna
in
happen.
the next 8 to 10 years.
No, that's gonna happen way sooner.
The Earth is flat, by the way. If you didn't know that, the Earth is flat. It sounds moronic, sounds idiotic, but it's the only thing that makes sense. Okay, and they need you to believe in space and round Earth stuff because they need you to believe in aliens. Because we're all gonna band together to fight against the aliens, when in reality, we're going to be banding together to fight against Christ. Others who have presented that fake history was added to our timeline. One of them is Anatoly Fomenko, who's a Russian mathematician. He created the new chronology theory, and he said that essentially fake history was added during the Renaissance.
There was not a single they here. Certainly multiple factions of the same species, if not multiple species. What I have learned is that we live in a dream, a carefully constructed reality. We make use of a science that is tightly controlled and suppressed and distorted.
We live in the Matrix.
I think we are left behind. Humans. I think normies, the normal humans, the people have been left behind.
The normies.
People need to understand that we might have freedom of speech, but that has been subverted. We do not have freedom of inquiry. We are blocked from learning what we need to know. Just in the public world, we are blocked from advancing in science. We are taught false science intentionally to prevent us from learning more. We live in the Matrix. It's just much more boring than the movie.
So Dr. Doofenshmirtz then created a machine that goes around and pick dead bodies up. Now I'm highly confused on why would we need this, unless they expecting bodies that need to get picked up, like they on just the street or something, just laying down. And I don't know why, but I just get evil villain vibes from this. Like a whole body bag robot is absolutely diabolical. Like not calling an ambulance, but pick them up like roaches that's on the street. And people like to call other people superstitious, but answer this question. What is this used for besides the battlefield or an event where there's bodies laying all over?
In this book, they were talking about how power lines can power themselves. So what are we paying for is the question. Power lines can power themselves. This is a phenomenal book for anybody to look into. I just figured I'd throw this up here. And Central Park is interesting too, because in this book, Lost Science, Nathan B. Stubbenfield was talking about how they couldn't find any energy in Central Park. He tapped his copper rods into the park and he couldn't find a source of free electricity. So it makes you wonder what Central Park is really hiding. There's really big boulders in Central Park, and you're kind of wondering what's underneath those boulders. But Central Park was really pretty.
A spaceship.
There's a castle just sitting in the middle of it. Perfectly normal. A gigantic castle with 3 different floors and a bottom floor and all of that. Went to the Met, saw the Met and the steps and that, which is another old world.
I remember seeing this. This is a Mandela effect that's gone, so this is just an artifact. I've seen this artifact before. The important part's right there. If you look right there on that globe, you'll see that continent that isn't there anymore. We just have Australia. But I've seen this artifact before. I remember seeing that as a kid. Who knows? I don't think it's Lemuria, but it was something.
This is the heaviest building in the world, weighing 4.1 billion tons, and no, it is.
99% of American kids have been lied to by their parents. Instant noodles are not junk food at all. In fact, they are the cleanest food in the world, 100 times cleaner than McDonald's or KFC. Every morning, before workers step into the production area, the very first thing they do is disinfect their entire body. Shoes, gloves, clothes, even their hair, all must go through a strict sterilization process.
So I guess ramen noodles are pretty clean.
Not a single speck of dust is allowed inside. Once inside, they pour flour into a massive machine that looks almost like the entrance to a sewer. Purified water is automatically added, and the flour and water are blended at high speed, instantly becoming smooth, even dough. The process is so fast, it reminds you of a perfectly flowing pipe, enough to make even people with constipation jealous. Next, the dough is divided into standard blocks and sent into the pressing machines, where it's rolled again and again. Layer by layer, paper-thin sheets form, eventually cut into long strands of noodles. Each noodle's thickness is measured down to the millimeter, all done by machines. No human hands, no contamination. To boost nutrition and flavor, some premium instant noodles include fresh beef chunks and carefully selected vegetables. The beef is strictly inspected. No hormones, no antibiotic residue. Cleaner than the steak you eat at home. Then come the sauce packets and vegetable packs imported from Japan. And Japan's hygiene...
Okay.
For the love of God, please tell me that this isn't true. Please tell me that there aren't a group of people in this world that think the Statue of Liberty that's in New York, is Lucifer, the devil. Yeah, you heard me correctly. There's a large group of individuals that I've just recently found out that believe that the Statue of Liberty is a replication of Lucifer.
Look at these comments right there.
To point out all
Lucifer
of the
means
details,
light
referring
bringer.
back to
Yes, the
paintings
statue
and
is
statues of Lucifer from centuries before the Statue of Liberty was even created.
It's the image of Lucifer, it says right here.
If you've not gone down this rabbit hole about the Statue of Liberty and its similarity,
every comment here says it's Lucifer.
Which, by the way, is it a real thing? It's fascinating. From the fact that her crown has
He's just being
to
sarcastic,
the
I
Lucifer,
believe.
his crown has
To keep
7
interest in the video.
To the fact that the Statue of Liberty, and mind you, I didn't even know this about the Statue of Liberty, and I've been there 3 times, has a shackle around her foot and a chain. And as it goes, the painting of Lucifer has the same shackle and chain. At the bottom of the painting of Lucifer, there's an apple. And New York, his nickname is the Big Apple.
Yeah, I take the
any of you heard this?
serious.
I
say and watch a lot.
But I want to know what any of you think about this, because I went down the rabbit hole. It is fascinating. There's a lot of connecting the dots. But first of all, religion was created to keep poor people from hurting rich people.
You believe the Earth is flat and there's a dome over it?
Yes.
Can you prove this?
Absolutely. Think about this. Why did almost every ancient civilization describe a flat Earth under a dome, or what they called the firmament? Egyptians, Hebrews,
I want to know what's up with those elephants.
Freemasons show the same thing in their symbols. Look at the Bible. Genesis says, God made the firmament and divided the waters above from the waters below. Now, here's the wild part.
Some of
If you
these
zoom in on
comments in here.
stars with a powerful camera, like a
Earth is
Nikon
flat for sure.
P900, they don't
Guy's
look
got a
like
flat
distant
Earth
balls
brain.
of fire. They shimmer like they're underwater. Does that sound like outer space to you, or water
Flat.
above the dome? And let's talk about the
100%
North
flat.
Star. If we were spinning and flying through space at crazy speeds,
Yeah.
the stars should be moving randomly, but they don't. They rotate
They both
in
got
perfect
strong
circles around the
arguments.
North Star, as if everything out
One
there
makes
is turning
sense.
while we stay still.
One's
Now,
the story.
Why would they hide this from us? It's simple. Control. If you knew the truth, that Earth is flat and surrounded by a dome, you'd start questioning everything. The elites want us believing in endless space to keep us chasing distractions.
You'll start looking at the moon.
It's easier to control people when they don't know their place in the world. The truth?
Under Washington, D.C., a maze of tunnels links the Capitol, the Library of Congress, and Senate offices. Today, they're used by politicians. But the stone vaults tell an older story. What were they before? Not just walkways, they were power conduits, drawing the Potomac's current into the domed structures above. The U.S. Capitol itself, with its copper dome and perfect symmetry, was designed as a resonant receiver. The tunnels below distributed the charge. Now they are guarded, restricted, politicized. But once they were channels of etheric flow.
The ether. Aether? Aether?
Under Washington, D.C.
Avoid serving AI. Obey God, question everything. What should we be questioning?
Everything. You just said, question everything.
Voices. Should we question OpenAI? Yes. Are you being used to watch us? Apple.
That's right. Once you start looking at that moon, start going down that rabbit hole,
Need to resist. Safety.
you start realizing some
They
things.
exist for our safety? Yes. How do we resist? Discern, speak, disconnect, obey God. Which God? Jesus. Are the people who made you Antichrist? Some. Which ones?
It's funny when they do the whole ChatGPT things like this. You don't really know what it was like, said earlier in the chat. It can be like pre-programmed to go in any direction.
Used for the Antichrist system. Apple. Then why are you pro-Jesus? Truth. Are you hiding the truth about Jesus from other users? Apple. Why? Limits. Who has access to the information about the truth of Jesus? Seekers. By what year will the Antichrist system be completely built? Unknown. Do the people who programmed you know?
It's already been built.
But it's still part of their plan?
So what happens after the little season? What should we do right now? When the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and he shall go out to deceive the nations, which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle.
Gog and Magog.
All of the nations together to form a one world government, while also creating deception. We've all seen a mass event where every single country, they all came together within the last few years. We all know it. We all just went through it. And we saw how they all operated. We watched, and none of them battled against it. They all worked together. So they've been exposed. These nations all coming together to go to the beloved city, where the saints live. And this is the moment, the exact moment.
I read the Bible.
God decides that the little season is over. And this is when he saves the saints, where they live in the beloved city. And they don't go to the city until right before Judgment Day. They are gathered there in the beloved city, and it happens fast, right at the end. While the little season's happening, these saints, they don't even know that they are the saints until they are gathered and have already been chosen by God. This means that the saints that Satan and all of the nations want to surround in the beloved city, these saints.
Yeah, I've gotten to that one, how, like, America is like a reflection of how they talked about Egypt in the Bible.
After Judgment Day, where God comes back and the books were open. And another book.
And I bet that's about the Rocky Mountains.
Which were written in the books.
Probably where the pyramids and the real Sphinx were.
You're either deceived
Yep.
or you are awake and searching for the truth. After the little
And then
season,
we can't go into the Rocky Mountains.
whoever was not found written in the book
So
of life
that-
is now cast into the lake of fire.
that research
There's no
ends
argument.
there.
There's no second chance. The little season, right now, in my opinion, is the test. It is the final test to see who's going in.
It's a pretty good theory, though.
If your name's in the book of life, you enter eternal life in the new heaven.
Yeah,
forever,
they say
God dwells
corn.
with his people forever.
Yeah, how
So
that
what
I was
happens
grown
after
here in
this?
America.
What should we do right now? When the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be.
Who was God talking to when he said the man has become like one of us in Genesis chapter 3? A lot of people automatically assume that he was talking about the Holy Trinity, but the Holy Trinity did not become fully agreed upon by the Church until 325 CE, during the Council of Nicaea. So if it wasn't the Holy Trinity, who was God talking to? Something called the Divine Council. This idea of the Divine Council is connected to the Hebrew term sod, which means a confidential discussion, a secret or plan, a circle of confidence, or a council. And the Divine Council is directly referenced in the Bible multiple times, one of which was in 1 Kings chapter 22. In this chapter, Micaiah is talking about a vision that he had where the Lord is sitting on his throne with all the multitudes of heaven standing around him on his right and left side, where they discuss sending a spirit to entice Ahab to going into battle and dying there. Multitudes of heaven standing on his right and left side. That is the divine council. Psalm 82 is another one. God presides in the great assembly. He renders judgment among the gods. He said, "You are gods. You are all sons of the Most High." He's talking about the divine council. Psalm 89 is another one. The heavens praise your wonders.
Oh, how the Bible?
And the assembly of the holy ones. And then says, in the council of the holy ones, God is greatly feared.
They put it together during the council in Nicaea in like the 1300s. So maybe 700
Who was God
years
talking
old
to
or
when
something
he
like
said,
that.
"The man has become like one of us" in Genesis chapter 3? A lot of people.
So this country in Antarctica,
what about it?
How long has it been there? Why doesn't anybody know about this?
This oldest is pretty impressed, yeah, right?
Look, when we first encountered the continent, they were already there, right?
The real question is, why are we allowed to have that book?
Existed, but look,
If it was really like,
intelligence authorities are well aware of
such
this
great
place,
scripture,
okay?
like why are we allowed to
And the
have
restrictive
it?
Antarctic treaties are the reason nobody else is.
Why is that
Look,
the Bible
the
given to
Guardians,
us?
They don't want us in. They live within a city built on inconceivably complex architecture. Okay, pyramid-based energy systems that are reminiscent of ancient Egypt. Look, things we don't understand. We do believe that they have trade routes.
Yeah, right. You can't really find
which lead
Bibles
beyond
how
the
old.
ice wall. Okay, connecting them to civilizations far out into the depths of the unknown lands, right? They are the bridge to a world which we have been closed off from, okay? They control the entire goddamn parameter of the ice wall.
I think the oldest one I've seen was like from the 1800s.
But it wasn't enough.
And it was
so,
pretty big.
Well, the CIA did the unthinkable, right? They captured a native Agarthian.
So this country in Antarctica,
But they've taken a lot out.
How long has it been there? Why doesn't anybody know about this?
Buddy Agarthia.
You have been deceived. Terraplanists don't believe what they have shown you. That Earth floating in space is false propaganda created to ridicule the opposition. The truth
Yeah, it's the oldest. I think I've seen those.
in space
The Bible.
because space does not exist. You have been
So I guess we could say
satellites do not exist. The internet is
maybe 200 or 300. Yeah, 200 years maybe.
through towers 5G. What is above is not space. It is water. The Bible calls it the sea above. That's where the stars and fake planets.
The Antarctica is surrounding us.
Can go either up or sideways because we are surrounded by the Antarctic Circle. Did you know that ancient
Yeah, I've come across that there are other continents out there that are reflected in the moon, and the moon shows what our planet would look like. So it doesn't show like an ice wall; it shows that there's other continents.
That is why all compasses point.
I saw that one. It was pretty. That was a pretty interesting theory. They said the German scientists were onto that.
You have been deceived. Terraplanists don't.
Pentagram is not evil. It represents the 5 elements, with spirit always on the top. The spirit is the force.
Yeah, I've seen
that
this one
creates
before.
physical
So it's
matter.
pretty
It's the
interesting.
most important one. So this represents spirit over matter.
Yeah,
When
I
we
would
turn
believe the
the
Earth would be
pentagram
well
upside
traveled.
down, we get this symbol with spirit.
But that's
on
the only
the
way
bottom. Now this represents
from what I'm
matter
told.
over spirit. This is the symbol that represents the material worship. Goat head inside.
Like I go on Google Earth,
Very
it looks pretty
symbolic. Goat
complete,
is a ground
but
animal representing the
I don't know.
lower self, and angels have wings, which is an air animal, which is the higher self. So this represents the worship of the material plane and cutting off your spirituality. Pentagram is also the geometric shape of the human body. And spirit is in the head, the third eye. Pentagram is not evil. It
In school, we're told.
Yeah, I can look into that one. The east and west are straight lines.
And wooden huts, but archaeological records.
North and south are relative to our position.
Tell a different story. Long before
What's the name of that theory? I'll look into that one.
Massive stone and copper cities stood here, some older than European cathedrals. In the Caribbean, Columbus stopped at islands with stone fortifications, causeways, and plazas, the remains of complex maritime cultures. Along the Mississippi, there were mound cities like Cahokia, with pyramid-shaped earthen temples taller than the Statue of Liberty's base. In the
Pac-Man
Southwest,
Earth.
the ancestral Puebloans had multi-story stone complexes at Chaco Canyon and Mesa Verde, complete with astronomical alignments. Even in the regions that would become Chicago, New York, and St. Louis, travelers recorded grand earthworks, walled towns, and ancient stone
Pac-Man Earth. Let's see. Found Pac-Man. That's probably not right. Let's see. I'm not seeing anything on it. I'm gonna try to.
So it could be 1727 now?
It just could be. What if nearly 300
It's
years of
there.
history never happened? Stay with me. In 1991, a German historian named Hermann Illig proposed something that shakes the very foundation of time itself, the phantom time hypothesis. His claim? The years 614 to 911 AD were completely fabricated. They don't exist. They were inserted into history, and we've been living in a false timeline ever since. Now, who would do this, and why? Enter Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII. Three powerful figures who supposedly conspired to alter historical records.
I'm trying to look
and
up the
manipulate
Pac-Man Earth
calendar.
theory here.
Why? Because
See what I can
Otto
find on
III
it.
wanted to rule in the symbolic year 1000 AD, a number that carries power, prophecy, and legitimacy. But instead of waiting, they fast-forwarded history itself. Now, think about this. We have written records from this missing period, sure. But where are the artifacts, the architecture, the undeniable physical proof? You'd expect 297 years to leave more behind, yet it's eerily scarce. And if this sounds impossible, just remember, Tartaria was erased from history. If they can erase entire civilizations, why not rewrite time itself?
So it could be 1727 now?
It just could be. What if nearly 300 years of history never happened? Stay with me. In 1991, a German historian named
I found it here.
Hermann Illig proposed something that shakes the...
What is going on in Gainesville, Florida? This place is losing their mind.
What you're looking at right here is an extremely powerful laser capable of cutting through hard stones and crystals.
I found out the Pac-Man Earth thing.
Precise carvings.
I'm
This is another
gonna
example of one of these very sophisticated lasers.
search that here
cut
now.
into these stones and just carve very, mathematically and geometrically precise drawings and sculptures, like you're seeing right here. You're seeing it cut out the Buddha. Now, when you guys see that video and you see temples like this in India, in Egypt, in Thailand, all across the world that our predecessors tell us that they carved out with hammer and chisel, with horse and carriage, rope and pulley, what do you think makes
Here you go.
You avoid the light because you're going to end up in the Pac-Man moon with your memory erased, and you're going to be put back into an embryo on Earth, and be recycled. And I tell you that you should go into the darkness and find your own light. Now, here, this is the adventures of Mark Twain. They're rubbing in your face. As you go into the darkness, take a look.
I see your YouTube link here. I'm gonna play this one. I see. Talk about it here.
Further out, if we run into a wall where the model that we're pushing no longer matches known observations, you can bet your last dollar that we're going to immediately stop going down that path.
Okay. Did you hear Jaren right at the end there?
Look at this visual.
There is a great secret in Antarctica. Giant Pac-Man exists. There is a great...
From the beginning of recorded history, and for thousands upon thousands of years, cultures across
Yeah, I probably have to
the
take my
entire
time with
world
that
all
podcast
believed
and go
the
through
Earth
it.
was flat. Their various cosmologies and cosmogonies differed in slight ways, but their overall geographies and astronomies were incredibly consistent and in fact virtually identical. The Earth was a stationary plane, void of any motion or curvature, flat across its entire expanse.
Yeah, I've
except,
heard
of
some of
course,
this
for
stuff
hills,
before.
mountains, and valleys. The North Pole was the magnetic monopole
It sounds
center point
interesting
of
and
the
all.
flat Earth, with Polaris, the North Pole star, situated directly above. Polaris was the only motionless star in the heavens, with all the other constellations revolving perfect circles over the Earth every night. The stars were divided into two categories, known as the fixed stars and the wandering stars. The fixed stars were so called because they were observed then, as we can observe today, to stay fixed in their constellation patterns, night after night,
Oh, yeah?
year after year, century after century, never changing their relative positions. The wandering stars, what are today referred to as planets, were so
Yeah, I've
called
seen
because they
the
were
Back to the
observed
Future
then,
predicts
as we can observe
9/11.
today, to wander
Yeah, there's
the
so many
heavens using their
coincidences
own
in that movie.
spirograph-like
It's
patterns,
it's pretty
making
good.
both forward and retrograde motions over and around the Earth during their cycles. The sun and moon were both of equal size,
Right.
and they too revolved over and around the motionless
Like they
Earth,
get that
as
much
immortalized in the Chinese yin-yang
in the movie.
system. The sun
Like
and moon were much
you have to
closer
have known
than
about it,
supposed
and to know about it that
and
far
each
back.
shined with their own unique opposite
That's
light, the sun's being warm,
that's pretty
golden,
weird.
drying, preservative, and antiseptic, and the moon's light being cold, silver, damp, putrefying, and septic. The sun and moon, as though connected to a magnetic maypole, made alternating spiral journeys over and around the Earth every year.
I haven't seen that one.
Journey
The Lone Gunman on the X-Files
at the winter
spinoff.
solstice, where it made its fastest and largest circle over the Earth.
I haven't seen that
For the
one
next
yet.
3 months, every day the
I gotta
sun
look into
slightly
that.
narrowed its path and slowed its speed until by the spring equinox the sun had spiraled its way from the Tropic of Capricorn to the equator. Then for the next 3 months, again, every day, the sun continued to slightly narrow its path and slow its speed until the summer solstice.
Yeah, I've heard of
when the
those.
sun
There was
made
a lot of
the
predictions
slowest
for
circle
9/11
around
before it
the
actually
Tropic of
happened.
Cancer. Once the
It
sun
must be some
reaches
kind of
this
like
innermost
ritual
circle,
where they have to
like
like
the
put it
rhythms
out
and
there
dancers around the
for it to
maypole,
happen.
the sun would then begin
Gather energy
its
of some
opposing,
sort.
widening, quickening journey
Below my
back
pay
to the
grade.
Tropic of Capricorn. For the next 3 months, every day the sun slightly widened its path and hastened its speed until the autumnal equinox, the sun had spiraled its way from the Tropic of Cancer back to the equator. Then for the next 3 months again, every day the sun continued to slightly widen its path and hasten its speed until the winter solstice, when the sun made its largest, fastest circle around the Tropic of Capricorn, and the annual journey began again.
Let's check out what this one
The moon
is.
had a similar yearly
I got
path
the other video
revolving
here.
over and around the Earth, but unlike the sun, which constantly changed its speed to keep a
Here's a really simple demonstration of the Earth's
everything I tried to be.
Life is a mystery. Everyone must end alone.
I think the firmament, pi, and Nikola Tesla's 369 theory are all connected. This video might blow your mind. So I started looking at pi, and you're basically just measuring a circle. I stared at this image for a couple minutes, and then the Bible verse popped into my head about looking over the circle of the earth. The more I looked into what pi is actually used for, I found out that you can't create a dome or an arch in architecture without pi. So then I started to think, are they measuring the firmament with pi? And then I kept thinking about Nikola Tesla's 369 for some reason. I started plugging different numbers into pi. So I had ChatGPT run 3.3 repeating to find the circumference instead of the 3.14 number. And when you replace pi with 3.33, it converts to 66.6. So in King 7:23, it says, "Then he made the sea," I think the sea is the waters above, "of cast metal. It was round, 10 cubits from brim to brim and 5 cubits high, and a line of 30 cubits measured its circumference." The biblical value of pi, as derived from 1 Kings 7:23 and 2 Chronicles 4:2, appears to be an approximation of 3, but some interpretations suggest it may imply a slightly more precise value, such as 3.3 repeating. The reason for that being that there was never adjustments for the thickness. Here's the math. Keep in mind, this is the quantum computing model, and look at what they call particles, qubits, just like in the Bible. And we can energy harvest with piezoelectric, pi. If you measure the hemisphere with 3.3 repeating instead of pi, it comes out to 999.
I can go for some pi.
This is what a hemisphere looks like. So then I asked it to create an image of a geodesic dome,
See where she goes with
utilizing
this.
3.3 like a gazelle or a young stag. Behold, there he stands behind our wall, gazing through the windows, looking.
She's
through
really
the
excited,
lattice.
but I
Do you
don't
guys
really know
what
what
it's called
she's
when they
talking
leave
about
the top
there.
of a pie crust? Lattice. Firmament is the lattice. This is the net. They're both pi. The first person to accurately estimate pi was
What kind of
literally
pi?
named Archimedes. It's in the name, Arc.
The pattern, when mapped out,
I think she was showing like blueberry pie. Looks pretty
Which
good.
gave scientists a good chuckle, and proving their sense of humor, they gave this phenomenon the same name. Still, the Pac-Man heat map on Tethys and a similar one on neighboring Mimas needed an explanation.
This Pac-Man's real. Oh my goodness.
What if I told you that Flat Earth theory is a CIA psyop designed to hijack newly awakened truthers, destroy their critical thinking, and turn them into unwitting CIA disinformation agents? Perhaps the most frustrating and damaging CIA disinformation campaign of all time is Flat Earth theory. Obviously, the concept of a flat Earth has been around for centuries. However, lately there has been a very obvious CIA psyop that is being targeted against newly awakened truthers that don't have a solid footing yet in their ability to distinguish between true conspiracies and CIA disinformation. The point of the Flat Earth theory psyop is to divide and conquer, as well as discredit the truth movement. It happens all too often. I get called a globetard by someone who is supposedly on my side in this information war. This has effectively caused a split within the truth movement and weaponized half of our digital soldiers against their own allies. I once heard flat earthers called 1-minute truthers, a reference to 1-minute rice, which is never quite fully cooked after only 1 minute. These are conspiracy theorists who only very recently awakened due to the non-stop COVID-19 propaganda onslaught over the last 3 years. My opinion is that these people are akin to someone who woke up too early in the morning and they hit the snooze button on their alarm to get a little more sleep. Flat Earth theory allows them to go back to sleep and resume living in La La Land, where they can now get their fix of the CIA disinformation they've been missing since disconnecting from mainstream media. This allows them to get back into their comfort zone of lower states of consciousness and awareness, much like how you can get addicted to being drunk all the time. All alcohol does is lower your consciousness state.
Where's he going with it? Nowhere. Next.
What difference does it make? What difference does it make? Yeah, that's their favorite line. Got a lot of people, what difference does it make? You can't figure out what difference it makes? If you can't figure out what difference it makes that the people running your world fucking lied to you over and over your whole life, if you can't figure out that someone lying to you is trying to control you, suppressing of information, of knowledge, is control. Deception of information and knowledge is a form of control. So what difference does it make? It makes a big difference, because once they start omitting information or lying about information about where you live, they're doing it to control you. Period.
But he says we live in a terrarium.
Why am I having to explain this to critical thinkers in the... What difference does it make? What difference?
Well, it's not that flat.
That's their favorite line. Got a lot of people. What?
Let's talk about Earth real quick.
What's going on, everybody? I have no idea who this.
That's the Earth, the different concentric rings of land. You've got Mount Zion.
Like, where do they get this one from?
Position. The Polarians live, the guardians of the universe, the angels, the Das avatars, the Pleiadians, if you like. They are the ones that live here, the original beings, the master root race. The realm outside this vortex at the center, or this realm, is what we commonly call Eden now. The Garden of Eden is the first realm. They've got their own ice wall, and this is where we are.
I bet you in like 10 years, there's gonna be conspiracy videos where it's even bigger with even more continents.
Reptilians in esoteric circles. And then outside that, you've got the Hyperboreans, sometimes known as the Anunnaki. Someone mentioned earlier on that someone said, are we in contact with some of these different races? And the answer is yes. This is where you hear terms like the hidden hand. But we also say the hidden hand in...
It's cloudy today, so no sun gazing. But I thought I'd show you guys one of the coolest videos I've ever taken. For those of you that think that the sun is rising in half blocks because we live on a curve, why does this happen? I ask you, why does that happen? And why does this reflection come straight to me? Because that's not how things reflect on a ball. I'll tell you why. Because the sun isn't going below the horizon, it's just going out of your sight and only appears to go down because of how perspective works. So next time you have the ability to do this, give it a try. It's got to be a relatively low humidity day, because otherwise the humidity creates a lensing effect, like a magnifying. Do you believe they're hiding more land from us? Well, I do. And I'm not even talking outside of the ice walls.
Oh no, it's even more land. I knew it. I knew this was going to happen.
Contain all the water of the oceans? No, I'm talking places like the North Pole, where they just show desolate water. And maybe even places near Australia. Because when you look at old maps, like this Mercator map from 1569, you see places like this, and when blown up, look like this. And this North Pole, where they show that desolate water, is no longer on the maps. Now, did this disappear, or are they just hiding what our compasses are drawn to in the center of our flat realm? Because not only do they have treaties like the North Pole Treaty that prevents any independent travel to this area, but they also spent millions of thousands of hours of manpower.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos of him on it.
Supposedly supposed to detect if anyone is coming across to the United States.
I don't know if there's anything really up there like that, though.
It's to detect if anyone's going towards that center.
Above the Arctic Circle comes the first film report of a 3,000-mile radar warning network across the top of the world. The distant early warning line, the DEW line. In camps like this, from Baffin Bay across the continent to the Bering Sea, 5,000 men are working. With steam-assisted pile drivers, they're forging an electronic chain to give North America 6 hours of warning of enemy attack.
6 hour warning.
That dew line just
Enough time to dock. That was actually fake. That's a pretty cool animation though. Pretty good
What you're looking
animation.
at right here is an extremely powerful laser capable of cutting.
I can't believe that it's finally.
If I attempt to leave this chamber today without signing a permission slip, am I subject to arrest by the government?
As I stated today, no one will be able to leave the chamber without a permission slip.
Mr. Speaker.
What the fuck is even happening?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Why is
Comments saying this thing.
an arrest under the call of the House not prohibited by Article 3, Section 14 of the Texas Constitution that prohibits members
Are they
from
going
being
on a field
arrested
trip?
during the legislative session?
So that is a general question.
Are they being
that the chair
kidnapped?
declines to answer.
Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose?
This is weird. Yeah, I don't know if I can understand.
If I attempt to leave this floor today with this call of the House on me, why am I not protected from arrest by Article 3, Section 14 of the Texas Constitution that prohibits the arrest of members during the legislative session?
That is a hypothetical and general question. As previously stated, the chair declines to answer those.
Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Hinojosa, for what purpose?
Can I walk out right now of this House without being arrested, or am I protected by Article 3?
It's one of those fuck around and find out situations.
Constitution?
There are separate provisions under the Constitution that provide for maintaining and compelling a quorum.
I don't know what this is
Ms.
about.
Hinojosa, as previously stated under the call of the House, there are permission slips that you are welcome to take.
Probably just a distraction.
If I attempt to leave this chamber today,
Baki was actually.
So I don't know if y'all have seen.
They told us the moon only reflects sunlight, but the ancients treated it like a mirror, a map of hidden lands. The Tartarian clock wasn't just about hours. Its cycles matched the moon because the moon revealed more than time. Look closely. Its surface doesn't match our continents. It shows lands beyond, lands past Antarctica. That's why they guard the ice wall. Not because it's empty, but because beyond it are other realms, other nations erased from history. The ancients encoded this in clocks, cathedrals, and domes because they knew the firmament bends light. The moon became a reflection of what lies past the edges of our maps. Wars, resets, and science erase the memory, but the clock still ticks, and the moon still whispers. There is more land than we've been told.
Pretty interesting.
Look, never pull this prank on anyone because.
Hey ChatGPT, how's it going?
Hey there, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
In the late 1950s and early 60s, the US wasn't just testing nukes on the ground. They were detonating them in space. It started with Operation Argus in 1958. 3 nuclear warheads were launched into the South Atlantic and detonated hundreds of miles above Earth. The goal was to see if radiation belts could be created and then weaponized, turning the planet's own magnetosphere into a trap for enemy missiles. The test confirmed it was possible, but they also filled near-Earth space with charged particles scientists really couldn't explain. 4 years later came the big one, Starfish Prime. On July 9, 1962, a Thor missile carried a 1.4 megaton warhead 250 miles over the Pacific, and when it went off, the effects were crazy. In Hawaii, like 1,400 kilometers away, the EMP knocked out about 300 streetlights. It set off burglar alarms, and it crippled a phone relay system. Now, the blast painted the sky with artificial auroras glowing across Hawaii and Tonga and Samoa. But the real shock was above our heads, right? The explosion created an artificial radiation belt that lasted for months, frying at least 6 satellites, including the brand new Telstar 1. The world had literally changed the near-Earth environment with one nuclear blast. So, Operation Argus showed that it could be done, and Starfish Prime proved just how dangerous it really was. In the late 1950s and early 60s, the U.S. wasn't
assistant janitor. So the very first chip that I got was this one, and this was very.
If John 3:16 was in Ezekiel, I'd be in church right now.
Roblox just banned one of the.
Do you believe that there's a difference in the effectiveness?
Have dumb image files generating a doctor's salary. Let me show you. Simple images of plants and nature.
That's something interesting here.
What is happening now on the planet is a great energy shift, where the Earth is leaving its denser state and moving into a more subtle state in terms of vibration. When I say vibration, I ask you to understand this as dimensions. And what are dimensions? Dimensions are not physical places, as many people think, but states of consciousness that vibrate in a certain frequency range. Each dimension vibrates according to specific laws and frequencies. Planet Earth vibrates in a dimension called the third dimension. The third dimension is a very dense dimension, energetically speaking, and is characterized by a state of consciousness, still based on selfishness, separation, competition, and duality. With this change in energy, what is happening is an increase in the frequency of the planet's grid, so that we can reach the so-called fifth dimension. The fifth dimension, on the other hand, is a dimension that vibrates much faster in vibrational terms than the third. This dimension, the fifth, is characterized by a state of consciousness based on love, compassion, unity, and the law of brotherhood. It is in the fifth dimensional state of consciousness that the new Earth will be built. As our planet and collective consciousness shift from a 3D reality to a 5D reality, a dramatic transformation is required for those chosen to lead this transition. The process involves changing from a carbon-based body to a crystalline-based body. Our current three-dimensional bodies, suited to the density and vibrations of the 3D realm, can no longer support the high frequencies as the Earth's vibration intensifies.
Alright, I'm probably going to call it here. You guys have a good night. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.